And we're back. This is Hook and Ladder. What can you say? This week has been, kind of interesting.
It was a good week.
Yeah.
I was sick all week. Had the flu.
Glad you're back.
I like to say I had malaria. It was that bad. Mm-hmm. Now, I had the flu, and I was kind of bummed. I wanted to go to the Auburn-Georgia game, but I was feeling pretty sick. But, hey, benefits of being sick is I got to lock myself in a room yesterday and watch pretty much every single game that was on TV.
That's right. So who's number one?
Well, I mean, I'm a traditionalist.
Yeah.
I agree with Joey Galloway. Georgia Bulldogs are the back-to-back national champions. They're number one until they lose a game. Mm-hmm. But if you're asking who's the best team this year, the most complete team this year, the two teams that are standing out in my mind right now, Ohio State and the Texas Longhorns.
Okay. I'll give you that. They've probably played the best, most dominant.
Yeah, I mean, I'd throw Michigan in there, slightly behind those two. Mm-hmm. I feel that they all of the teams have had some ho-hum moments, halves, quarters, whatnot. But those 2 to 3 teams, in my opinion, are the 3 best teams in the country right now.
Right.
Wide open.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of teams I think could easily win the Natty.
There's unranked teams right now that are undefeated still. It's crazy. It's a mess. So let's go and get started. Friday night, Utah and Oregon State played, and Oregon State beat Utah. Cam Rising, of course, wasn't there.
Cam Rising was there. I called this, actually. I put money on Oregon State in our group. Mm-hmm. Somebody brought up, who was going to be the on upset alert. I said Utah. They lack a starting QB that can sustain drives with his arm.
Right.
Watching this game, the young quarterback, I think he's just a freshman, he'd make a nice pass play, and then he'd make an errant throw on an easy pitch and catch. If you cannot continue to make, with a high completion percentage, continue to make plays that extend drives, things get much more difficult for you. Unfortunately, also for Utah, which has a great defense, they keep losing dudes to injuries. Mm-hmm. And got to give credit to Oregon State. They came to play offensively and defensively, extremely physical, and they took it to them.
That's right. Moving right along, number 1, Georgia knocked off Auburn 27-20. Again, Georgia got behind and they had to pull a comeback out again.
This is looking like the identity of the Georgia team in 2023 is start slow and then eventually come back. Use your superior talent and skill position guys offensively to make a comeback. Defense isn't what it used to be.
Having issues with stopping the run right now.
Yeah, but see, everyone's was saying that last night and then today. I agree, but they haven't been. It wasn't so much as them stopping the run. There was a few run plays with the running back to the outside they couldn't keep contained, and they got beat to the edge. I think that's correctable. What gave them problems is that damn run-pass option, and the dude only ran it for 3 or 4 times,
right.
But they couldn't stop that QB run. And to me, that was very disconcerting for Georgia. But if you kind of look at the last couple of recruiting classes with Georgia's up top in the recruiting classes, you see one thing that jumps out at you. Less than 4 defensive linemen per class. Yes, all ridiculously highly ranked. But in a few of those classes, like in terms of the one 2 years ago, there's one guy left, which is Mikael Williams, the defensive end. They're running on dudes like 3 or 4 seniors deep, and a few of them aren't really that good.
Right.
So I just don't think up front they've got the dudes they've had in the past years. Linebackers are still awesome.
Yeah.
DBs, they're still super talented, super young in the backfield. But definitely not the Georgia we're used to seeing. But I give credit to Carson Beck. Didn't look good in the beginning, looked real shady, but all of a sudden he just kind of turned it on. Found Brock Bowers a bunch. He went for over 100 in the 4th quarter alone. And kind of like Georgia we've seen this year, they don't have a problem moving the football.
No.
They get inside the red zone, and that was their problem. But yesterday they were 4 for 4. 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals, and then the last touchdown came from outside the 20, obviously. But they moved the football down the field. Other than, I think, 2 drives that they punted and then 2 turnover drives, they moved the football down and scored every time. That 1 touchdown drive was like 96 yards.
All right, well, we'll move right along. Michigan dominated Nebraska 45-7. You see any of this one?
I did, and Roman Wilson is fast becoming one of my all-time favorite players. That dude is just catching touchdown pass after touchdown pass. He's got 8 on the season now. They look good. JJ ran the ball quite a bit, and I think for me, I was talking to a friend of mine, this big Michigan fan. That's just putting it on film, having JJ run it. They don't need JJ run it to win the game. That's Jim throwing it on film. So a few weeks down the road, someone's got to look at that film and say, okay, we got to count for JJ running the football. They played well offensively and defensively. Not a big surprise here. Nebraska's terrible. Kind of an indictment on the Big Ten when one of the biggest Michigan fans I know says their schedule doesn't even start till November.
That's right.
But big win for them. I mean, they're looking really good. I would not be shocked to see them jump Georgia in some kind of ranking. I know the coaches poll came out today, I think, but I didn't look at it.
Yeah. Let's see what we got. Texas knocked off Kansas 40-14. Didn't see any of this one.
Kansas kind of sort of hung around a little bit. They got a lucky play. Their QB ran it, fumbled, went right to a dude, and that guy just picked up, ran for touchdown. Wasn't as close as the score really indicates, in my opinion. Yeah. Texas pretty much had their way with them. A.D. Mitchell with another touchdown catch. Quinn Ewers looked good, over 300 yards passing. Defensively, they looked fine. Defensive front seven is really good.
Yeah. Penn State knocked off Northwestern 41-13.
Started off real slow for Penn State. I think it was a late touchdown in the first half to tie it at 10. And then they basically turned it on and looked really good doing it in the second half. Penn State's a good football team. We keep hearing about Penn State having one of the best defenses James Franklin's ever had. At Penn State, they finally got a QB, and Aller, how do you pronounce it? That can make plays with his arm, can win games with his arm. Is this the year they're going to finally put it together and do something?
Maybe.
I mean, they got to play Michigan. They got to play Ohio State. That Penn State, that Big Ten East is a gauntlet. Somebody's going to knock each other off. But is this the year Penn State does something? I kind of hope it is. I think that'd be cool to see them be the Big Ten representative in the playoff.
That's right. Washington knocked off Arizona 31-24.
This game was way closer than I thought it was going to be. But Penix looks good. Washington can score. That whole Pac-12 is looking like so much fun, especially after the game we saw Colorado and USC. I mean, I know Colorado's not in it, but I mean, they're going to knock somebody off.
Yes, they are.
They're going to knock somebody off. They had all the fight in them yesterday. We'll get to that game in a minute. But the Pac-12 is so competitive this year. I still think it's Oregon's to lose. But, man, all these teams are going to be really hard to knock off.
Absolutely. USC against Colorado in a squeaker late, 48-41. Caleb Williams did Caleb Williams things. Colorado came to play. They had a little fight in
They did, and it wasn't quite like last week. It was like 35-0 at half. I mean, it was a big discrepancy in score at halftime. But Colorado really did a great job second half of hanging around, forcing USC into some bad situations. USC missed a field goal late to make it a little closer. Shedeur Sanders had a really good game. I mean, Caleb Williams throws for 4 bills and 6 TDs, but Shedeur Sanders had a pretty good game as well. One of their freshman wideouts had over 100 and a TD. They look good. They would not give up.
No.
And Caleb Williams is going to run around there in the backfield and do his thing. Half of that, in my opinion, is the quality of the receivers they have. But I really got to give Colorado credit on this one. And another thing that stood out to me is USC's defense. They still can't close out games.
They're bad.
So, I mean, that's eventually when you're going to go up people that can score almost as much as you and can play some defense, USC is going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Oregon knocked off Stanford 42-6. Kind of slow start for Oregon, but
way to beat Stanford. Always like seeing when Stanford loses. Didn't really watch much of this game. I was kind of checking the highlights. Bo Nix is looking like a Heisman candidate finalist. They just look good. They have so many different weapons, and a lot of the weapons, like, they're different kind of guys. Gone are the days where they had a bunch of those, like, 5'9", 5'10" burners. They've got guys on the wideout with different body types. They got guys in the slot. in one slot with big tight end, flex guy, then a small scat guy. They've got all different kind of guys that can make plays, and each one of them is unique.
Yep.
And I think that makes them very, very dangerous.
Absolutely.
Their defense is always flying around the football. I really like what Oregon's got. I'd like to see them and Penn State make some noise and go to the playoffs.
I would too. Notre Dame in it was an excellent game against Duke, 21-14, and Sam Hartman drove them down the field late.
A snoozer of a game.
Yeah.
I watched most of this game. One thing that stood out to me through this whole game was, when is Sam Hartman going to just take over and start throwing the football down the field? And it just never happened. Late touchdown by Duke puts him ahead. Want to say they had Notre Dame got the football, had to go like 90-plus yards with 1:50 left to go. Early in the drive on a 3rd and 8, they hit a guy over the middle for a big gain. And then 4th and 16, they rush 3. Game's on the line, stop them, you get the win, and they let Sam Hartman, who's not a fleet of foot kind of guy, they let Sam Hartman scramble for that. After he kind of hesitated in the line of scrimmage because he wanted to throw the football.
Right.
They let him run for that first down, and then you kind of thought it was over. You just kind of get a few more yards, kick a game-winning field goal. I thought the winning touchdown was them just trying to get the football in the running back's hands, get him, in the middle of the field, get him tackled like a 5-6 yard gain, get the clock down. He busted it for a touchdown, which was unfortunate because it left time on the clock, which we saw what happened to Riley Leonard, and that's awful. It looks like he's probably done for the year. I think that was like a broken ankle.
Yeah.
That was awful looking. There was a lot of that yesterday. You had Brew McCoy for Tennessee. You had the poor bastard, the worst of them all, the poor linebacker for West Virginia. That was bad. You had him on Thursday night. You had him on Friday. There were multiple times that I watched live in person a dude have to get an air cast on their leg and cart it off the field on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You hate to see that.
Yeah.
But terrible way to lose for Duke, and it looks like they lost more than the game.
Yeah, their season may be over with their star quarterback gone.
Cinderella season's probably done.
Yeah, but Notre Dame remains alive.
Give credit where credit is due. Sam Hartman made the plays. Notre Dame got it done. I really thought they were done for. It was curtains for them, and it was going to basically be the end of the road for the season.
Yeah, that 3 minutes left to go in the game was like, if they don't do it now, it ain't going to happen. They're still alive. Everything's still in front of them. Moving right along, Alabama knocked off Mississippi State 40-17.
Speaking of a team that's still alive, Alabama keeps chugging along.
Yep.
They don't look good offensively. They had to get a couple of defensive scores. Milroe ran the ball well. Didn't throw the football particularly well, but they didn't need him to. They basically dominated. I give credit for a little bit Mississippi State. They hung around early. Things got a little ugly late. But Alabama, they've got one loss on the season. It is not a conference loss. I believe the SEC West is wide open, just like the Pac-12. But and I also believe the SEC East is wide open for that matter. But Alabama's still kind of controlling their own destiny. Not looking good, but you kind of get the feeling once they get things squared away offensively, they're going to be dangerous.
That's right.
Because that defense is sick.
Yes. LSU lost to Ole Miss 55-49, and just a shootout.
Easily one of the most entertaining games of the year so far. Fast forward to the end. Ole Miss scores a touchdown, take a lead. And when LSU gets the football back, I was sitting there watching. There was not a doubt in my mind, that Ole Miss was going to find a way to screw the pooch and lose this game. And then they get the first pass, and he catches it on a slant or a crossing pattern, outruns the defense. He's run up the sideline. They push him out at the 50. I'm like, here we go. Lane Kiffin, the clown's going to find a way to lose. And I got to give him credit. They won. Now, that last pass did hit the dude in the hands.
Yeah.
Did hit him in the hands. But give credit as due. Ole Miss came to play. They clamped down when they needed to. They got the win. The crowd stormed the field. Pandemonium. There are dudes up on the goalposts. Good times. Fun game.
Oklahoma knocked off Iowa State 50-20, setting them up for next week's big game against Texas.
Yep. With the Red River rivalry and the in Dallas. It's in Dallas, right?
Yeah.
at the fair.
The Dallas Fair.
Yeah, it was the State Fair or something like that.
Texas State Fair, yeah.
That'd be a huge game. I didn't see any of this. I haven't seen Oklahoma play yet this year, but I'll probably be watching next weekend. In fact, I'll definitely be watching next weekend.
Yeah. And I think that's where game day will be next week
I
as
do
well. South Carolina loses to Tennessee 41-20.
Spencer Rattler did not play good this game. I thought South Carolina played well. Tennessee looks good. They lost Brew McCoy for what I think is going to be the year. They're still a good running football team. That kind of drives the bus with them. Just did the same thing last year. Everybody talks about their quick strike ability and their passing offense. They set things up by running the football. I watched this game. Melton looks good. Running backs look good. Defense looks okay. What I do notice about this team is they don't have the dudes catching passes that they did last year. Right. There's not a guy they've got on their roster offensively that will scare me as a defensive coordinator. If you can stop them from running the football, I think you're going to have a fairly decent time winning the game, as Florida did.
Kentucky knocked off Florida 33-14. Kentucky's 5-0.
They look good.
They do look good.
The running game looked good. They looked dominant. Davis was running all over the place on the first half. Florida didn't have an answer. They scored a touchdown late. Kind of made it a little closer than it needed to be. And Kentucky just pulled away in the second half. Great win by Kentucky. That's absolutely huge for Stoops. Florida's not what they once were. That's still a huge rivalry. Florida's a ranked team.
Yeah.
They're not what they once were, but that matters to Kentucky. That game matters to Kentucky.
Absolutely.
And they've had Florida's number the last couple of years.
Yep.
So, interesting game next week. Kentucky goes into Athens, Georgia for a night game. I believe Georgia will be up to the task defensively. What is the other way you're going to look at? Georgia's offense versus Kentucky's defense. That's yet to be seen.
It is yet to be seen. Missouri also, I think, they're undefeated
yes,
still.
They are. And they look good throwing the football around to that bevy of wideouts they got. Brady Cook, 395, a few touchdowns. They haven't really played anybody that great, but the meat of their schedule is coming up. I don't know who they got next, but that SEC East is looking good. We're going to come up to some games where Missouri, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Carolina's got a couple of losses, but you're still throwing quality teams against each other. You're going to see some teams get knocked off.
Yeah, there's some losses there that you didn't see coming. Kentucky's standing out right now, looking pretty good. So is Missouri. Fresno knocked off Nevada 27-9.
Didn't watch any of that.
Texas A&M knocked off Arkansas 34-22.
I watched this game, and I just got one thing that I keep standing out to me in the past 3 years when I've watched Arkansas. KJ Jefferson's not good. He's not a good quarterback. He might take off and run every now and again and make a real nice play because he's just a ginormous human being. He's like Cam Newton size. He's not good at throwing the football. That's not his thing.
It's like he hasn't developed. It's like he's the same player he was 3 years ago.
And I noticed that when they call a design run for him, he kind of gets a little giddy up kind of thing, hops in the air, and it's like, dude, just freaking run. Yeah. He does that, and then boom, they get him behind the line, lost yards, no gain, and I'm kind of like, dude, what are you doing? Just take off. It seems like they just don't know how to call plays with the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know, that really stuck out to me. I was like, this cat's not that good.
Well, as soon as this thing pops back up, I don't know, it's running slow today. But
some of the later game, what you call Alabama was on kind of later in the evening.
Yeah, it was a 9:00 start, wasn't it?
That was.
Yeah. So, but I guess
next week
we got some interesting matchups next week. Nothing really. I mean, they got games on Wednesday now, so we're getting to where we're starting to have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night, and Saturday night games.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. Friday night, you got Kansas State playing Oklahoma State.
A decent game. Yeah. Nebraska, Illinois at 8. I'm sure our good friend Jerry, friend of the program, will be watching that. Illinois might get a win. Yeah. They're playing Nebraska.
Never
I hate to say that. I picked Illinois to get beat by Purdue, and it happened. Speaking of games that we didn't talk about, Iowa. They're straight up garbage.
Yeah.
Offensively, they're one of the worst football teams I've ever seen in my life. McNamara goes down. And they're playing Michigan State, who's not a good football team. And they've got all sorts of turmoil on the field and off the field.
Yeah.
And Michigan State had a chance to win that game, and they get stopped, and they got a punt, and the Cat returns it for a touchdown. If it's not defensive touchdowns, it's special teams touchdowns. That's the way Iowa wins. And I'm like, I can't see. That side of the Big Ten is so inept at football. I'm really, really hoping Fickle brings Wisconsin around, because that entire side is inept. They're going to have to throw, like, either redo the whole conference alignment or just throw all those big Pac-12 teams in the West to make it even, because you can't have Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State in one side of the conference and have them just knock each other off and then have absolute dog shit on the other side of the conference. It's bad. Iowa's got a great defense. They have great special teams. Their offense is atrocious. And to me, that doesn't make any difference.
Right.
They still suck. Now, I watched that game yesterday, and I'm thinking, like, this is bad football. You watch them offensively, and it is bad.
The big game tomorrow, next week is Oklahoma, Texas, both undefeated. Everything's in front of them at noon.
Noon. That game is always at noon, though.
At the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. $314 you can go to that game.
Well, Maryland at Ohio State at noon.
Two undefeated teams.
That could be a pretty good game. And as we talked about Missouri, they've got they're going to go host LSU. LSU coming off that heartbreaking loss to Ole Miss.
We'll find out a lot about Missouri.
Yeah, we'll find out who they are because LSU can put up some damn points.
Well, let's see what else we got.
Florida State back in action. Virginia Tech, not a bad game. Alabama A&M 3:30. That's going to be one heck of a game.
Yeah.
A&M is still alive in the SEC West. They've got, one loss?
Yep.
And it was to Miami?
Yeah. I predicted Texas A&M would knock off Alabama earlier this week.
It's possible. They've got the defense to do it, and they've got enough playmakers offensively to score enough points to put the pressure on Alabama's offense, which could cause Milroe to make some mistakes.
Moving right along. North Carolina is still undefeated. Got Syracuse coming to town. They're going to go to 6-0, it looks like. Possibly. Iowa, Purdue.
Boring.
Yeah. Clemson, Wake Forest.
Boring.
Let's see.
I just want to see Clemson continue to lose. I think they're going to play Miami.
Yeah. Vanderbilt, Florida.
Hey, that's a revenge game for Florida. They got beat by Vandy last year. Can Vandy go into the swamp and do it again? Florida's coming off a big-time demoralizing loss where they just got out-physicaled on both sides of the football. What's Florida going to look like going forward?
We'll see. Colorado, Arizona State. Can Colorado get another win?
I think Colorado wins that game.
Yeah. Here's the big game for next Saturday. Georgia against Kentucky.
7 p.m.
Yep.
I think Kentucky can run the football as good as anybody. What are they going to look like passing the football?
Right.
If Georgia stacks that box and makes Devin Leary beat you, I believe Georgia's defensive backs are good enough to go one-on-one with any wideout or any pass catcher that Kentucky can put out there.
I agree.
I think they're going to make some plays against Georgia, but I think Georgia's going to hang in there defensively. And it's all going to come down to what can Georgia do offensively against Kentucky's defense.
Right. That's right. Michigan, Minnesota, 7:30 next Saturday night. I'm assuming Michigan is going to take care of business.
Notre Dame at Louisville, 7:30. I mean, Louisville's ranked 25. I don't expect Louisville to really be in this game. I think they're a good football team. They struggled the other night. Was it Friday night? I think it was. They struggled against NC State, but Louisville's a decent football team. They're not great, not bad. They're just a quality football team. It's probably going to be a tough out.
Yeah, and I think Notre Dame plays USC the following week. I think that's what's on the schedule. They win the next few games. They stand to be in the playoff picture. I think. Arkansas, Ole Miss.
It'd be a tough game. Yeah. Arkansas is a physical team. They lack a lot of skill, and they lack consistency. They lack discipline. They lack a lot of things. Hey, so does Ole Miss.
Hey.
So this is going to be a match made in heaven for these two teams. I do think that if they call this game right, the Arkansas offense should give Ole Miss defense some problems. But I don't really see that Arkansas stopping Ole Miss.
Yeah. Let's see. Tech, Miami. Miami's undefeated.
Miami's undefeated. Georgia Tech lost to Bowling Green yesterday, so things are not looking good for the new head coach of Georgia Tech. Miami looks good.
Yep.
They were off this past week. Arizona at USC at 10:30 at night, Saturday night, the nightcap game.
We will be getting out of the stadium.
Probably getting out of the stadium or just before kickoff, probably.
Maybe let's do it on the radio.
Because I would imagine the type of game both Georgia and Kentucky want to play, that game's going to end pretty quick.
That's right.
Listen to it on radio, catch maybe second half, third, fourth quarter. It's on TV before bed.
Yeah, and here's, I think this is updated rankings. This thing will pull up.
Yeah, I know. I think it was the coaches poll came out today. I saw something, but I didn't really look. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So really, there's no change.
No, there's not. Like the AP, you got Michigan, Texas, Ohio State, Florida State.
The coaches poll, okay, so they got Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Ohio State 3. Big win on the road. Ohio State going to Notre Dame. I still think the Texas going on the road beating Alabama is a much more impressive win than the Ohio State win over Notre Dame. But I mean, they're 3 and 4. Right. I think Florida State at 5, Penn State at 6. All that's right where it should be with the trifecta of USC, Washington, then Oregon. That's going to shake itself out eventually. I don't have a problem with USC. I wouldn't put USC above the two of them. I put Oregon above them. But look, they're going to play each other. It's going to
sort itself out. And just like that, September's over.
Look at that. Alabama at 11 and then 10th in the coaches poll.
I don't see them staying there. I see them moving up the road.
I do too. I mean, they got a tough road home.
Yeah.
All right, they got to play Arkansas, who always plays them tough. Auburn. I mean, look, Auburn's not a good football team. Yeah. We saw what they did to Georgia. Everybody says going to Jordan-Hare is difficult to play. Shit, yeah, it is. I've seen Alabama teams that won national championships go in there and struggle. I've seen a national championship winning Alabama team go in there and lose. So that would be a tough game. They got to play LSU.
They got A&M this weekend at night at A&M. If they can get past this weekend, which I don't know.
They still got to play Tennessee, who's not going to be an easy out. Tennessee can put points up. And it's going to make Alabama struggles offensively, quarterback issues, it puts pressure on that offense.
Right.
So Alabama's going to have to play 3, 4, 5 teams that can score some points.
That's it. Oh, Washington got a 1 first place vote in the coaches poll.
I did hear that today. Good for them.
Interesting. Good for them. Yeah, they have played well. Credit to Penix.
Penix looks good.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's this week's
episode. Week 5 was in the books. Good week.
Yeah. I suppose the games are going to get better from here.
Yep. We should start seeing a lot more upsets now that teams are playing conference schedules.
That's right. Well, you guys have a good week, and we'll see you Sunday.
See ya.